Hi everyone. Welcome back to a new episode. Um, or did we decide on Good Afternoon Race Fans? Let me know what you guys like better for this specific series that I'm doing. Um, so today I am back with another recap. We are into episode 2 of 100 Days to Indy. Um, I feel like it's getting a little bit more into their own groove, which I think is good, but yeah, let's get into it. Um, Episode 2, titled Knocking at the Door, um, was Andretti Autosport and Arrow McLaren focused, and really showcased race 2 of the year at Texas Motor Speedway, which you guys always give me shit for saying that I like, but I like it because there's always really, really good IndyCar races at Texas, but Iowa is my favorite oval. So, um, so in this episode, what we saw a lot of was Pato Award and Colton Herta, who are, I refer to them as the baby children of IndyCar because they are so young. Um, we saw Pato at the beginning in Mexico at home, hanging out with his friends, and we saw our little intro to Colton was him unpacking boxes in his new house. So just like fun little life things. They did talk a little bit about how Pato did not have the best race at St. Pete because he, you know, could have and probably should have won that race, but he had an engine failure, an engine issue that Chevrolet has taken full responsibility of, but it doesn't, it doesn't take away the hurt and it doesn't take away the frustration of, what should have been, his win. Um, but they talked about that early on, kind of set it up for later. Um, and then they actually did a really good back and forth between Colton and Pato, and then, just like in general of Andretti and Arrow McLaren, which I like. There was a little section in the beginning about talking about Colton and how, last year was not like his best year ever. I think he finished 10th in the standings overall, and then he got, that contract extension. And I think a lot of maybe just IndyCar fans in general and the media are waiting for him to maybe like show up and be more consistent and I don't know, maybe in a way like prove that he's worth all this money and all this time that's being invested into him. And, as any driver kind of should, he just doesn't care what people think. Um, but I do kind of hope that we see more consistency from him just from the standpoint of him being such a good driver. And when he's good, he's really good. So I would like to see them find something so we can see more of that because more guys at the top of their game in the series is never going to be a bad thing. It's just not. Um, I think probably my favorite section in the entire episode was Mario. I love Mario Andretti so much. I think he's just the best. Um, and I love when he does TV because he doesn't do a lot of it these days. So, when he does, I'm like, oh, yay. um, he made a couple of points that I think are important and I do agree with. He said he doesn't think there's another series that can give you the satisfaction that IndyCar does. And I do think that's a statement that people would, I mean, these days, would probably find controversial, but he's right. Like, and if anyone would know, it would be him. Um, there's just so much. I mean, yeah, you can say, well, it's, you get satisfaction when you win in any series, but for IndyCar, with the 500 and everything that leads up to it, and even, winning a championship, it is so elevated. And it just, you want it all. So it does have that extra level of, you know, I think it does have that extra level of like satisfaction you do get from IndyCar, what you don't get from other series. Um, he also said that winning the Indy 500 feels like a weight being lifted off your shoulders. Um, because fair or not fair, your career is judged off of winning the 500. And that is absolutely true. It just is. And it's like exactly what he said, like fair or not, you think of IndyCar, you automatically think of the 500. So, I mean, you could go out there and win 5 or 6 championships, but everyone's going to be like, okay, well, did you win the 500? Like, there isn't another, at least in my mind, like, yeah, you can say, oh, there's Daytona, or there's US Nationals, or there's, you know, Le Mans, or the 24 hours of Daytona, or whatever. Like, every series has hallmark races, but I don't think, I mean, maybe Le Mans, but it doesn't really, automatically mean if you didn't win Le Mans, it doesn't mean people don't automatically think that you're not, you know, a badass driver. Like, it's more like, and that's not even to say that if you don't win, that people don't think here, if you don't win the Indy 500, that you're not a great driver, but it really is, they go together like this. So it definitely has that extra level, like he said. Because I think if you're winning anything, then I have, major respect for you. And like I said, those hallmark races do mean a lot, but I think all the races kind of mean a lot because in my mind, like, yeah, I think like, okay, yeah, this person won the Indy 500, but I also am interested in like all the other things. I think maybe it's just like the journalist in me, like I look at it from like the different perspective, but on the whole, I think none of my ramblings make sense. But I think that he is definitely right. IndyCar is the one sport where like the hallmark race almost means more, and people will look at that than if you win a championship. You know what I mean? Which creates that extra pressure, you know? Um, let's see. Oh, okay. So one thing that I did not like. I didn't like because they talked to Mario, they talked to Michael, and uh in episode 1 they talked to the captain and they talked to Chip. I really don't like, it just really rubbed me the wrong way that on the Arrow McLaren side, there was no Zach Brown interview. Like, I know that it's not like his main focus, but they're doing exceptionally well so far in IndyCar, and they're sucking really bad in F1. So you would think that you would want to put your face and your image a little bit more towards your team that's doing well. And it just didn't sit right with me that he didn't, even if it was like a Zoom interview, that he didn't participate in some way. Um, but yeah, what they had instead, they had Gavin Ward, who is their racing director. Um, he was at Penske for a while, and everyone really liked him over there. Great dude. I've heard a lot of great things even before the show. Um, he, they expanded McLaren did from two cars to three this year, and he came over kind of with a mission. Um, he said he thinks that there's a better way, or a way better than how Penske does it to build a team, and that's what they're gonna do. And he kind of came over like with that fire and with that fight, and I think that's what they needed. But I love that it's like a little spicy. But he seemed to he's at least from what we've seen so far, it seems that he's had a positive impact on the team, which is a great thing. Whereas on the Andretti side, the last, I don't know, like 10 years for them have not been the best because, for a while, you think about like the big three in IndyCar and you think of Penske and you think of Ganassi and you do think of Andretti. But the past decade has not wielded what they've wanted. It's been very spotty, which has, been unfortunate. Um, Michael said he thinks that in the off season they kind of fixed a lot of their gremlins and found something. And I think they have a really strong core. They have Herda, they have Grosjean, and they have Kyle Kirkwood. And I think that, I mean, we're kind of seeing it already, but I think that this might be like the one. Like, at least this is the best kind of like starting point that we've seen them have. Jeez. um, but yeah, I think that for what they want, they now have the best kind of like whole chance to get it. They feel like a whole team. Um, but on the McLaren side, like I said, they switched from two to three this year. They have uh, Pato, they have Rossi, and they have Felix Rosenqvist, and then they're gonna have the fourth car at the 500 with Tony Kanaan for his last ride. Um, it's really interesting the Rosenquist side of it because we talked about it a lot last year, especially at the end of the year, not knowing where he was going to end up and what was going to happen. So um, I think that 2023 is what I like to call like a bubble year, um, where what happens with him this season is really going to determine not only kind of his future in the team, but I think his future with an IndyCar. Because it's not like he's had shining moments. Like, don't get me wrong, he's absolutely had shining moments, but overall, it hasn't exactly lived up to, I think, the expectation that people set him, the team, the fans, the media, kind of everybody. So, you do hope to see him have kind of like a breakthrough, which did not happen at Texas because he got too high up and tapped the wall. But, it's one of those things where like you hope for the best because he's a talented driver and he's a good dude. And you want to see guys like that stick around. Um, let's see. So on to like the race stuff at the racetrack. This was their first oval of the year and the first oval that like kind of only oval that they'll see before the 500. So it's, kind of important to test your shit out and see if you can just, like get a good handle on it. The format for this for qualifying is what they did was single car on track, 2 laps, and then you take the average, and then that's how you stack up. Rosenquist, even though he crashed out, did end up on pole, so that was a bright spot for McLaren. Um, but that kind of leads me to like my next point, which is why we've seen teams like Andretti and like McLaren struggle because they'll have like a really good Friday and Saturday. Oh, thanks for the follow. Welcome on in. Um, we've seen teams have a really strong Friday and Saturday, and then they can't finish on a Sunday. You have to be able to, and that stuff kind of adds up. So you have to be able to, on the whole, finish and have a complete weekend. And if teams can start figuring out like the little things to do that, that's when, it starts to work. Um, let's see. I really like I know I had seen some tweets that some people were kind of in like comparison to DTS, which I said last week that I was happy to see that it wasn't exactly like that, that we were getting more behind the scenes stuff, because it just humanizes everybody, um, which I think is the best part. Like, you like to see, like, yes, they're drivers, but I'm always really interested in the human side and, drivers as people. Um, there was a couple little things that I just thought were kind of incredible. Colton's girlfriend, Riley, she had bedazzled herself a jacket, and I was like, this is just so peak. Like, I loved it. She was so proud of it. It was super cute. Like, I love little things like that, and that's absolutely something I would do. Like, who doesn't love a bit of bedazzling? Like, yes. And he totally had that like look on his face where he was like a little bit like embarrassed and laughing, but like a little bit like, oh, I'm so in love with this girl. And I'm like, oh, young love. They're so adorable. Um, so those little moments I like. And I really thought it was so, so, so cute seeing Pato with his mom and his sister. Like the bond and the relationship that they have, I think is so great. Because, we see a lot in, I mean, you kind of see it everywhere. Everybody obviously is going to have different relationships with their family and all that stuff. But you see, I don't even want to bring this up because I can't stand this man. But you see, like, in comparison to the relationship that, like, Max Verstappen has with his dad, mm, that man is the devil. So to see it over here on this side, to where, and that's not even about like a serious thing, that's just like a people thing. To see that the relationships are close and genuine, like, that is just like so heartwarming. And I think that's the best because it was so sad. Like, even though I'm not the biggest, like, as a person, Max Verstappen fan, it really was like heartbreaking to hear like the relationship he has with his dad and the stuff that his dad has like done to him. So, anytime you see the opposite of that and you see like the close relationships, that I think is great. And I think we need to see more of that. And that's what I was talking about, the human side. That's why I'm really glad that IndyCar has decided to do the behind the scenes. I also saw a lot of people quoting Pato's like pre-race quote from the show when he said, "Shall we go have a wee, then go to the pits?" I think that was so fun. It's just like those random little things that I'm like, all right. I dig it. Um, Hockey Pizza Oreos, what's up? Welcome on in. Um, let's see. Okay. So we were talking about um how this is the only oval that they're going to see before the 500. The battle, even though it was like crazy and Pato O'Ward was like lapping everybody, him and Joseph Newgarden were just like slicing through the field. The battle that they were having was brilliant. And I think it really shows a bright spot, and I think it gives really good hope for what the future, like the rest of the season, is going to look like on ovals. Everybody is ready to battle. They want it, and I think if they can continue that and bring that to the 500, whew, we're in for a fantastic day. Mm. So we had, the battles, we had some yellows thrown in, and then we had the yellow, which was Grosjean crashing out with two to go. Um, which crashing out to start your season twice sucks. um, and I hated that for him. But if you guys watch at Long Beach, then you kind of you saw his recovery. You know what's up. um, so at that time, even though Pato was going for the lead, Newgarden was still out in front, and that aided him in getting the win. Which he has 3 wins now in Texas. He kind of owns that place, and I dig it. um, I think at the end, seeing that little clip, because you saw it on the TV broadcast, but seeing Newgarden talking to Roger Penske and then like eating their ice cream sandwiches, I'm like, yeah, I love that. Because ice cream after a race is like the best. Ice cream after everything is the best. But I thought that was great. It's always really nice to see the relationships that the drivers and the team owners have. All right, let's see. Did I do another page? No, I didn't. So yeah, I think that's kind of Texas in that episode um, as a whole. So I think what the first two races did and have done is obviously Grosjean super close to winning both times. Pato super close to winning both times. It's definitely, fan the flame and fuel the fire. And I think that translates not only, for them as drivers, but I think it spills over into the teams as a whole because they all want to prove that they can win and they can be the best and they can, play with the big boys. And they are, you know, creeping up. So I think that even though it wasn't the outcomes that they wanted in the long run for the end of the year, for just the season as a whole, it's going to work in their favor. And it's going to make everyone else really have to step up their game, which is what we all want. Like I said, every driver and every team being on the top of their game is never a bad thing, ever. So it's exciting. I think we're in a really exciting time for IndyCar right now. And I love to see it. So yeah, if you guys are not already watching um 100 Days to Indy, Thursday nights, 9 p.m. on the CW. And then I think it streams the next day, so I think it's streaming today on the CW app. But definitely worth a watch. I think they're doing it really, really well. Um, and I think it's great for the sport. I'm here for it. But yeah, I kind of think that was everything for episode 2. Um, I do have a second list because you know me and making lists about everything. Um, just a couple things that are happening around the motorsports world and just things I wanted to talk about. Okay, yesterday there was all this Twitter drama about Brad Pitt and how he's making some cockamamie F1 movie or something. Um, and they were like, "Oh, at Silverstone, he's gonna be on track in a car," and everyone was like, "What in the fuck are you talking about? That's so dangerous." Um, and then it came out, they're like, "Oh, supposedly it's supposed to be like he's gonna be in an F2 car, he's not gonna be in an F1 car, and he'll be on track but never with other drivers," and it was like a whole thing, and I'm just like, this is a great idea. This is not a disaster at all. This has not been a disaster all day. But the best thing to come out of that was Colton Herta tweeting about Brad Pitt getting a super license before him. And I was just like, it is, he won Twitter. He absolutely won Twitter. No one else will ever be as funny. Top tier tweet. He wins. So good. um, also happening in kind of that same sphere is Miami GP is this weekend. Um, Miami. um, I've actually made some changes to my F1 fantasy team. I made changes to 2 teams with drivers. I don't know if it's just like alpha as a whole or what's going on, but I was not like they kind of been struggling, and I don't know if it's just like a car thing or if it's a driver thing, but I yeeted Botas just for this week at least to see if um I can have like a little more out of it, but I'm a little nervous. Um, I had no negative last week, which was great. Um, love that. Best chip. Recommend if you haven't used it yet and you have the chance. But yeah, I made some changes and I'm interested to see if I get oh, computer's making bing bong noises at me. Um, I'll be interested to see if I can get just like a little bit more or what's gonna happen. Hopefully it's not less. um, but yeah, you never know with a place like Miami. So we will have to just wait and see. If you're not already following me on Twitter and Instagram, that's where I post the majority of my fantasy stuff. We have a command for it, but I don't remember what it is. I think it's this. It's that. So yeah, Instagram and Twitter are where I talk about all my fantasy stuff. Oh, thanks for the follow. Um, uh, what? That like threw me off what I was gonna say. Oh yeah. I have a couple of drag racing things to talk about. If you are in Indy or near Indy this weekend, uh, Cletus McFarlane is doing Cletus and Cars Indy at IRP. They, burnout contest, drag racing, I think. But there's his whole Cletus and Cars weekend, which I'm super pumped to see the videos from. Um, they're also doing, I think, the Indy 800 with the Crown Vic race. Um, they have the addition of top alcohol dragsters and funny cars this weekend. The NHRA kind of teamed up with Cletus and they're making it a points race for those drivers. So that's super exciting. It's basically like the same points you get from a regional event. So super pumped to see the videos from that. I love, when the worlds combine. Um, because in like 2 weeks, because Cletus is now kind of part of like the drag and drive world. He's not just like this crazy massive YouTuber. He's now like he's like definitely more involved in that world and kind of to see a second layer of drag and drive and NHRA combining is great because in 2 weeks in Chicago, there's going to be a drag and drive um, 8 car exhibition. So it's Alex Taylor, who, if you don't follow her on social media and YouTube, you absolutely should be. Um, she was testing her 55 this week, and the windshield blew out and the doors blew off. And so that's been like a whole crazy story we've all been kind of following. Um, hopefully, she'll be able to put the car back together in 2 weeks. But knowing her and her dad and how fast they're able to build cars, I have no doubt. Um, so you have her, you have Tom Bailey and 6 Seconds, Steve Morris with the wagon, which I love. Oh gosh, who else is going to be there? Goldstone, Brian Goldstone's going to be there. Let's see. What's the whole. I have the list. Oh yeah, they're also doing the oh, thanks. um, it's I've been very lucky to do something for a living that has been a huge love of mine. So if I can spread that and like grow awareness for motorsports, I'm happy to have that opportunity. Oh my gosh. Never? Ooh, I definitely recommend. You have so many things to choose from. Um, yeah, lots of choices depending on it just, it'll be one of those things where I started off when I was a kid. I watched all the races with my dad, drag racing, IndyCar, F1, NASCAR. And then it's just typical, you just kind of find the ones that you like the best and you find your people. But definitely recommend. Um, yeah, so they're doing the Pro Stock All-Star call out as well in Chicago. Yeah, so IndyCar has their new show 100 Days to Indy. Um, it's on the CW, and then it just premiered, so they're 2 episodes in. And then on Netflix, um, Formula One has Drive to Survive, which is a little more on the dramatic side, but that's just kind of all I'll say. Like, everybody is allowed to make their own judgments about DTS. But it has been great for Formula One. They've gotten a lot of viewers through that. Okay, what's it doing? Oh yeah, Drag and Drive. So Alex, Tom, Steve, Goldstone. Oh, Clark, who I love. Um, Clint Sadowski, Rick Trunkett and Bob Hess Jr. So these are, 6 second plus 200-mile-an-hour plus running cars. Um, you know, it's super exciting. And, drag and drive is something that is definitely getting more popular. And I love that they're doing this because it's just so fun. And I'm maybe looking into building something for that because I also really just, I will shout this from the friggin' rooftops. With the success of Sick Week and Drag Week and Rocky Mountain Race Week, Rocky Mountain Race Week 2.0, and like all the things, the Pacific Northwest needs a drag and drive event. I know that I there's some, from what I've heard just in my little circle, there's maybe been some people who are trying to put something together, but like Tom Bailey, call me. 6 second, like sick the mag. Like, let's put something together because we desperately need it over here. Because car culture in the Pacific Northwest is huge. It's so huge out here. So many legends of drag racing come from the Pacific Northwest. And that car culture has never died. Racing culture is very much alive and well. And I think we need it. Um, so yeah, that was my very long-winded. If you're in Indy, Cletus and cars for this weekend. Um, Also, drag racing thing. Uh, Les Mayhew, who is very kind of well known throughout the nostalgia side of drag racing. He's a great videographer. He just put together his 2023 March Meet video on his YouTube channel, Nitro America. Came out yesterday. I watched it last night. So good. He does a really great job of capturing like all the little moments and really showing, what it's like to get a nostalgia, top fuel dragster into a show and to win a race. So he does a great job with that. His YouTube channel is full of gems. 10 out of 10 recommend. Oh, my last thing um is I have, so you guys know how I've been doing my little series of trading card unboxings. Well, I ordered some IndyCar trading cards from 1991. Um, I can't even remember the brand because a bajillion brands did them back in the day. But I was like, oh, that's cool, thinking it was gonna be like, because I knew it was like a set, but I thought that maybe it was gonna be like, maybe like a box like this, which these are the All World Racing ones from 92 that I did. This video was on our YouTube channel, by the way. That was a really fun unboxing. I like that a lot. I thought it was going to be like that. I think it might be a lot bigger than I thought. Um, Based on some pictures and stuff that I saw. So, if it is, it'll get here next week. If it is bigger than I think because it's a hobby pack, which are the ones that were sold to like comic stores. And you see them floating around eBay and all that stuff. But I think it might be bigger than I thought it was. So if it is, I might end up splitting it in half because to unbox that one that I showed you, it was like almost 2 hours, and that's a lot. So I might split it in half, but whether I do or I don't, I might save it because I do have on the 22nd, Emu and I are going to be a duo again, and we're going to be here together. So she hasn't been here for any of my unboxing streams. So that might be a fun thing to do because her reactions to seeing like pictures of drivers from back in the day is always so funny. So we might do that. Like we're definitely streaming on the 22nd together, but we might do that and something else. I'm still kind of figuring out what exactly I want to do, but there will definitely be fantasy talk because we have to catch you guys up on how we're doing within our league. So yeah, that'll be good. I think I'm excited for whatever it is we're gonna do. And I'm excited to see how big this box actually is. Because I don't know. So it was one of those things where like I bought it and then I was like, okay. And then I saw like other I was trying to like look it up on Google just to see because it didn't like the listing didn't have a ton of um like info about it, like details. Um so I was trying to like look it up like I do with like any big sets that I buy. And I saw some other listings, some other pictures of it, and I was like, oh, like when it was like there was one of it like on a shelf or like in front of some other like boxes, and I was like, huh, it looks big. There might be a lot in there. And even if, because normally what I do when I get these things is I leave them completely untouched. Oh, excuse me. I leave them completely untouched until I open them on stream, but I might have to open this one and see how many packs are actually in it. And then see how many cards are in a pack. It's going to be an adventure. We're going to find out together. Who knows? But, you know, anything could happen on. Oh, is this part 5 already? Part 5 of Kira went on eBay and now we're doing an unboxing. I need a theme song or something. um, but yeah, exciting things coming. Um, I think, like I said, IndyCar's in a great spot, just kind of overall. Um, yeah, it's an exciting time to be a race fan. I will just say that. Just kind of like overall, exciting time to be a race fan. But yeah, as always, we have fun stuff coming. Emu and I are always trying to plan things and figure out what we can do next. I think we might be getting slightly closer to figuring out um, being able to do stuff together like IRL because obviously we do live in two different states and we both work a lot. But she said, I don't know if she said this here, but she said this to me. Um, when she and I do a thing together, that is when she will do a face reveal. So exciting times all around. I want to bring her drag racing. That's like my number one thing. But I want to, there's other stuff that we want to do together too. There's talks about maybe buying and building a podcast car for us to do some stuff together, which I'm super pumped about. I want to build all the cars and do all the things. Um, so yeah, I kind of have an idea where I want to go with that, but if you guys have suggestions, because we haven't nailed down exactly what we want yet, uh, send us your suggestions for what we should build. Like, we want to do, obviously, drag racing together would be like a different animal, but I want to get us out on like on a track, on like do a track day, do a road course. Like, I think it would be so fun. And we've actually had this conversation here before about having a day where we have, because I know a bunch of IMSA drivers who are driver coaches as well. I think it would be so fun to have a day or a weekend where we go out on track and we get, driver coached and learn from the pros and see kind of like how we can cut a lap time. I have big plans. So, exciting things. Yeah, it's going to be cool. Um, but yeah, I think that was everything I had for today. Normally I wait till like the next day to put out these VODs on our YouTube channel and on Spotify, which, oh yeah, we're on Spotify, by the way. Um, and I made a command for it finally. Um, yeah, we're on Spotify now, so if you're at home or on the go, you can listen to me, listen to us. I know, I'm super excited about it. I felt very fancy when I was making that command to be like, oh yeah, we're on Spotify. But yeah, normally I wait like a day after I stream to put these out, but these ones, because they're like recap videos, I'm putting them out the day of. So after this, I'm going to, what time is it? 3 o'clock. I'm gonna have a snack and then I'm going to edit the beginning of this down and put it in all the places. So I think I'm gonna wrap it up there. As always, we appreciate you guys following and hanging out and just, you know, growing our little community. Um, yeah, we're super excited for things to come and excited that you guys are coming along, with us on this crazy ride. um, so I will see you guys next week for another recap. And yeah, have a good weekend. Bye, guys.